Welcome back to this week's edition of Modern Tech and Transformation. This week we're going to be talking about the technological landscape and challenges in the energy industry, and we have industry veteran with us, John Warzeniak. Welcome, John.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And John, since it's your first time with us, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
So John Warzeniak, VP of Sales for RTS. Been in the Houston market for a little over 20 years, supporting the oil and gas as well as utility industry, supporting various aspects of that, both on the OT and IT side.
All right. And so with all that experience, I'm sure you've seen what technologies are more commonly used in this sector and which ones you see less of. So let's talk about the most commonly used technologies you see in the energy world.
A lot of the oil and gas companies, because they are so material or supply chain heavy, they utilize SAP quite a bit. We do see some clients utilizing Oracle, but there's a ton of SAP in regards to that, is what they're utilizing mostly. And then we see a lot for their customer, their CRM. We see a lot in the Salesforce aspect. And then there's a lot of oil and gas specific applications as well as utility applications that kind of handle the field from there.
And with SAP, Salesforce, Oracle, have you noticed in a post-COVID era that there has been challenges managing those talent gaps for those ERP and CRM systems?
For sure. All of the systems now are going to more of a subscription based, going towards the cloud. And a lot of these systems are currently on-prem or they're trying to move to the cloud. But a lot of the systems that support a lot of the field or your OT network are very antiquated. And so you have a lot of, from a talent skill gap perspective, and then also from a technology skill gap perspective, there's a lot of dependencies that a lot of the old systems just won't talk to the cloud, or the data that they have is very siloed and it just cannot speak to cloud related type of applications.
So are you seeing majority of the clients you talk to throughout the energy industry looking to move towards cloud currently, or have most moved towards cloud? What does that adoption rate look like?
Well, a lot of them moved a lot of their corporate applications, some of their SharePoint. That was kind of the easiest thing for them to move. So a lot of our clients are already on M365. They're already on SharePoint Online from that perspective, but they're kind of being forced to go with their ERP systems or other applications just because the software vendors that are providing that, whether it's SAP, Oracle, Salesforce, Tableau, to go to that model because they're not going to be supported anymore. So there's a lot of reservations around what does that look like for their security? How is that going to impact their communication and out to the field and back? So there's, from either Oracle, SAP, there's just a lot of apprehension about how they go to the cloud.
And how have you seen some of those apprehensions alleviated?
Wow, there's quite a few ways that I've seen that. There's a lot around the security aspect and the security tools now that have come a long way since COVID from that perspective. And that's the main driver, is making sure that it is secure from that perspective, because there is a lot of proprietary data, a lot of production data that is out there that if it got into the wrong hands, that a lot of individuals would, it's just a very big concern from them.
Absolutely. And these cybersecurity, I guess, for lack of better terms, hackers, they're getting more creative, they're getting more sophisticated, and especially in the energy industry, that's a mission critical infrastructure that we need to power our society. So makes cybersecurity of the utmost importance. So along with ERP, we're also hearing AI. AI is everywhere. Can you talk through some of the AI conversations that you've been having in the energy marketplace?
Yeah, so a lot of the big one that they're trying to, I don't want to say accomplish, but the one that they're trying to tackle the most is dealing with their OT networks, a lot of their pipelines, a lot of the refineries, because the biggest expense they have is downtime. Because some of these parts that they deal with, whether it's compressors or whether it's just regulators or valves, or sometimes some of those can take 6 to 9 months to get the next one down, and then that could mean that a portion of a pipeline or a part of the refinery could be down. And so they're really trying to tackle it with AI. And that what that basically is doing is either reading, vibrations, temperature, pressure, to start seeing anomalies in a lot of the historic data, and able to be more proactive in regards to their maintenance scheduling, as well as various other things. And then it creates a lot of, it decreases their downtime from that perspective. They're also looking at automation of their, from an AI perspective, of automating a lot of the manual tasks that are out at rigs and things like that. But a lot of the things that they're trying to tackle are all based on the things that drives revenue for the company. But it also can decrease that, which is all their field related applications and materials and all their assets out there.
And as they're trying to move towards this like preventative maintenance or automation, have you seen any blockers? Do you think sometimes some companies are putting the cart before the horse, or are most companies you're talking to ready to implement AI?
I would venture to say probably 95% of our customers are not ready to roll out AI enterprise wide. They may be able to roll it in a certain aspect, whether it's just reviewing or analyzing historic data. But being able to do a AI or multi-modeled across multiple different aspects, there's a lot of different aspects that really kind of slow that down. And, a couple of them are that data just is not in a compatible format for them to use. It's siloed. The infrastructure just isn't there. That the amount of data to do AI across a certain part of the business just isn't there from that perspective. And then when you talk about the field, is how do you get that real-time data to analyze it? And so a lot of when we talk to clients and discuss that, that's where it really comes down to, is they're battling the uniformity of that data, where it is, the amount it is, and how are they going to go about it, because scaling that initiative is very, very expensive from an implementation perspective, but then also you've got an infrastructure perspective that you've got to take a look at. And then there's also change management on how they're going to utilize that data.
And change management is a common theme in this podcast, and I think it's something that's often overlooked. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because if that's not done well, the project will fail.
Correct.
And so we've discussed ERP modernization, whatever that looks like. From there, you're probably going to upgrade some infrastructure, possibly, and then decide on what you're transforming digitally through digital transformation, whether that's data modernization, and then eventually getting to AI, and only about that 5% are really at that AI level. So overall, would you say those are kind of the four main areas?
Yes. Yeah, I would totally agree.
And that's exactly like what RTS's business has been based on, is doing that end-to-end journey. So with that, you've been with Resolve Tech Solutions for a number of years. Can you share your favorite success story?
It's probably helping a joint venture organization that we're currently working with. It's a joint venture between a large oil and gas company and a private investment company. So the company's only been around 2 years, and they were struggling with a greenfield implementation of multiple different applications in the upstream world. And they were trying to figure out, being a small company, not with having a very large IT organization. I think they only had 4 at the time when we get engaged with them. But how to bring in all of that data. And some of it's very complex because you're pulling pressures and different aspects coming out of a pipeline or a valve, and being able to see which one of those wells is most profitable from that perspective. And so it was really working with them and working with our team to really understand kind of the values of the data they needed from the three different systems, and being able to bring that together into Azure in a data lake, and be able to show them from the life of a purchase order being opened up all the way to the profitability until when they close that out from that perspective. So that's a recent one that I think has been very interesting to see how much information we're able to give such a young company that's just been around. So it's been challenging and interesting all at once, but we formed a very good partnership with them, and I think they value what we can bring to the table.
No, I love that. We talk a lot about the larger enterprises, so hearing about like a newer mid enterprise company is exciting too, especially if they've only been around a few years. But John, we enjoyed having you today. I always like to end on that high note with a success story, and appreciate your time. And I'm sure you'll be back in the future. So thank you.
I appreciate your time as well.
Thanks.